So just as a little preface before today's video, I wanted to make a presentation on the 3 phases that every man must go through to reach his physical potential. And now I'm creating this because when I first started fitness, I didn't really have any direction. I didn't know what to focus on, and most importantly, I was not using my time wisely. Now that I've gotten older, I realize the importance and value of time, and I think if I can just save you a little bit of time, it could be the most valuable thing that I can give to you. So here are the 3 phases that you must go through and what to focus on in each stage of the journey. Okay, without further ado, let's get it. All right, so these are the 3 key fitness phases every man must master to reach his potential. Now, I'm going to show you these 3 key phases as well as how they fit in every part of my fitness journey, no matter what stage I was at. Okay, so they say hindsight is 2020. After looking back at my fitness journey from 2018 to 2025, I can now clearly see the natural progression of events that allowed me to go from soft, weak, and insecure, like these 2 pictures right here, to gaining 45 pounds of lean muscle mass, seasoned strength and athleticism, and most importantly, walking like a new man, literally anabolic steroid type results. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys these 3 phases. But when I first started working out, I had no method, just pure pent up aggression and motivation. And I'm actually glad my early days were like this. I see a lot of these new guys on social media. They're starting off with all this science-based training, which is great. They definitely have more knowledge than me. But the thing was, I had so much drive, so much people to prove wrong that I actually made crazy results without even having any knowledge. But then, I fell in love with fitness and I eventually became a fitness professional, strength and conditioning coach, and gym owner. Okay. So this gives me a unique perspective. I can now look at my earlier training days with elevated eyes, see where I went wrong, see where I went right. And looking back, I did many things wrong, guys. Like a lot of you guys, right? You guys look back at your early training history and you're like, I don't know what I was doing. But I also did some right, okay? And I believe I unintentionally underwent the 3 mandatory phases every complete physically competent man should undergo. I wasn't actually trying to undergo these 3 phases. I just followed training that made sense to me. And looking back as a fitness professional, I realized that I did something right, okay? So I'm gonna walk you through how I went through these 3 phases, starting from a beginner to now. Okay, so let's take it to phase 1. Okay, this is when I first started working out. This is 2018. Okay, I weighed 135 pounds. And looking back, the number one thing I should do, and what other people should do in my shoes, if you're kind of starting off as a more skinnier build, is building a foundation of lean muscle mass and connective tissue. Okay, so that is phase 1. Okay, you must build a base. You must build up your body to some extent. Okay, what I and many who start their fitness need to do when they first start is just build a foundation. Okay, and I did this correctly. I didn't have any guidance, but I just stumbled across it. This means developing a decent amount of muscle, strengthening the joints, the tendons, the bones to a basic level, making yourself competent, developing basic movement capabilities. Okay, so this is your first phase. This is what you got to focus on when you first start. Coincidentally enough, my first approach to training was bodybuilding focused. Okay, I had a roommate at the time. He loved bodybuilding. I worked out with him. He showed me a lot of the bodybuilding basics. Looking back, this was exactly what I needed as a 135-pound individual. Okay, and I know a lot of people are against bodybuilding training. It gets a negative rap. But I'm saying you don't have to train like Ronnie Coleman, but you do need a base of muscle mass in this game. And you should focus on this when you first start. Okay, this is for skinny individuals. This is for people that haven't really had experience in the gym. Maybe you're not skinny, but you have a lot of body fat. What you need to do is just build a base of muscle mass. Okay, you need to do this, not anything else. Okay. I think a trap that a lot of people fall into, and they love the functional training. You see a lot of these videos on Instagram, functional training or training for explosiveness. Okay, these things are cool, but you can't have either functionality or explosiveness without a decent base of muscle. This is the first thing. You must build up your physical body. Okay, so what you need to do in this phase is keep it simple, stupid. Okay, Trust me, there are many complex movements out there, and it can be easy to get carried away when you first start. But in this phase, you don't want to make it more complex than it has to be. Okay, you want to save that for later down your fitness journey. When you first start, you want to focus on these movements. Okay, so you need a squat pattern. Squat is one of the best exercises for building up the legs, building up the strength of the full body. It's a full body lift. You want to focus on back squats. Front squats are a little bit more advanced. Zerchers are a little bit more advanced. Belt squats and hack squats. These are probably going to be the best for developing your lower body as well as your full body. Next, you need a hinge pattern. Okay, so these are deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts. Keep it really simple. Okay, building up your posterior chain, your core, your lower back, everything. Okay. Next, you need a push pattern. You need to develop the muscles of the shoulders and the chest. Just build some muscle mass. Stick to the basics. Again, dips, bench press, incline, dumbbell incline, dumbbell bench, overhead press, a seated overhead press, and a dumbbell shoulder press. That's really all you need, guys. Next, you need to develop the back, right? So we're going to do our pulls. Bent barbell row, one arm dumbbell row, chest supported T-bar row. That's a good one. Pull-ups, chin-ups, lat pull down, seated cable row. You notice how it's very basic. Just stick to these. Master the foundational patterns, okay? Next is the lunge pattern, okay? Bulgarian split squat. It's a little advanced for beginners, but still add it in. Reverse lunges, front foot elevated lunges, lateral lunges, step up, walking lunges, okay? These are all lunge pattern movements. And last category is isometric strength. A lot of beginners, they just don't understand how to stabilize their core, how to produce strength isometrically. So these are your plank variations. Farmer's carry, anything where you have to carry, brace hard. And note that the isometric strength is going to be worked on in pretty much all of these as well, right? Squat pattern, hinge pattern, you're working your isometric strength. Weighted marches are great. So these are the things you need to focus on. Now, these are your big movements, okay? These are your steak and potatoes. This is not enough. Since you are focusing on muscular hypertrophy, you need to be doing your fair share of bodybuilding isolation type movements, okay? There's a plethora of bodybuilding type movements, right? But here are the best ones for each area of the body. I'm going to really just simplify it for you. Okay, so this is S tier isolation work. For hamstrings, do the prone hamstring curl, the one where you lie on your belly. You're working your hamstrings through a large range of motion, really good for hypertrophy. For biceps, do your seated incline dumbbell curl where you lay back, you really get that full stretch in your biceps. And then the easy bar curl for just curling a lot of weight. Triceps, skull crushers, tricep row pull down, right? Keep it basic. For the traps, upright rows are great, shrugs are great. For the shoulders, lateral raise, rear delt fly. Those are really all you need at this point. For abs, I know there's a billion different ab exercises. Keep it very simple. Leg raise variations, crunch variations. I would even say the ab wheel, okay? For the quads, keep it very simple as well. Heel elevated squats, leg extensions are all you need. And for the calves, right, just your standing and seated calf raise, okay? So this is what you want to focus most of your training on right now at the beginner stage, because it's going to allow you to put on a decent frame. And for everything else in fitness, you just need that decent frame to begin with, okay? So now you're asking yourself, how much of each? How do I know how much to do? How do I know how many days to train? Okay, this is something that a lot of beginners just struggle with. The thing that will produce the most amount of hypertrophy in lean muscle mass is what you call mechanical tension. This is your muscle. It's basically just how much tension you can put on the muscle. Things that affect how much tension there is the load. If there's a lot of weight pulling you this way, there's going to be more tension. Range of motion. If you go into a deep stretch, there's going to be more tension. Control. You can actually even, as you're doing the exercise, right, you can internally with your mind, like the better mind muscle connection you have, there's going to be more, you can apply more tension to the working muscles, and that goes hand in hand with form, okay? So the best weight to maximize the overall amount of mechanical tension and hence hypertrophy within a set is moderately heavy weight. Okay, that means that it's not really heavy, but it's not really light. It's somewhat heavy, okay? Because too heavy and you can't do many for reps. hence lowering the mechanical tension throughout the whole set, right? If you can do one, there's going to be a lot of mechanical tension for that one rep, but you can only do it for one rep. So in the long scheme of things, as opposed to a weight that's moderately heavy, but you can do it for 8 times, there's going to be more mechanical tension because you're doing it for more reps throughout the set, okay? It also doesn't allow you to train at a deep range of motion. The control is off, and it's harder to manage form to direct tension to the ideal places. So you don't want to be doing 1 rep maxes, 2 rep maxes, 3 rep maxes, okay? But you also don't want to train too light, and the range of motion control and form is there, but there simply isn't enough load to produce meaningful mechanical tension. The best is a moderate to heavy weight. This means something you can do for about 5 to 12 reps for your compounds. 5 to 12 reps for all of these movements that I went over here. Okay, for isolation work, it's going to differ a little bit. For isolation work, you want to do something that you can do for 8 to 20. Okay, as far as sets, aim for about 2 to 5 sets per exercise. Okay, so at this point, I was a total beginner. And when you're a beginner, you don't even have the nervous system capabilities to actually push yourself and feel tired. Like if I were to do 5 sets of 5 as a beginner, it wouldn't be that tiring because I don't even have the capacity to really push myself with my nervous system. But if I did a 5 by 5 right now, a true 5 by 5 at a high intensity, I would be cooked, right? So when you're a beginner, you can really train higher volume because you don't even have the nervous system capabilities to really push yourself. So volume is going to be your best friend. I would say do 5 to 12 reps for compounds, 8 to 20 for isolations, and aim for 2 to 5 sets per exercise, okay? So after I did all that, I built a decent base of muscle mass. I think I was around 155. Obviously, I could have put on more, but it was better than 135. Next, I went into this phase, which I'm going to call phase 2, which is focused on variety, movement complexity, and becoming a jack of all trades, okay? So I've been lifting for a couple years. I felt stronger, but still not fulfilled. I was tight, rigid, and I moved awkwardly still. I know a lot of gym bros are like this. They've been lifting for a bit, but they still move weird. They're not really athletic. They don't really scream like, oh, this guy's a fit guy, right? Many gym bros start with lifting weights, but they never truly outgrow only doing this. Although they might be jacked, I can tell you from experience, they still lack the confidence and true belief in their capabilities like I did, okay? So now it's time to variate from the basic movements you've been doing in the gym and add more advanced movement patterns, okay? So you're actually just becoming a more diverse individual in terms of movement, in terms of your capabilities, and phase 2 is all about doing that, okay? So now with the compound movements I went over before, you want to add things like rotation, okay? So this is a lot of things that's neglected. It's going to help you move better. It's going to allow you to use your lower body, your core, rotate, right? Use your upper body all in unison, okay? So you want to start adding these type of movements, okay? So these are your cable rotations, landmine rotations, med ball throws, even running to a degree, right? You're rotating your torso, or just adding rotation to basic movement patterns, right? You see this is a shoulder movement, right? She's pushing, but at the same time, she's rotating while she's doing that, right? You could do the same thing with pulling. You can do rows while rotating. So just add to your movement arsenal. Phase 2 is all about that, okay? Next, you want to add coordination plus stability focused movements. Now, what do I mean? These are more of like your unilateral movements. These are more of like one-sided movements that have a little bit more of a balance and coordination aspect. A really good example of this is one of my favorite movements called the single leg RDL, right? Like this, where you start like this, you hinge onto one leg with weight, and then you come up, right? There's an element of balance there. There's an element of coordination there. You want to start doing this for a lot of your different movements. Start adding more elements of coordination and stability. And it was also around this time I put an emphasis on conditioning, okay? This is a whole nother subject that I can go into, but here are the foundational aspects to include, right? It's not only just about lifting weights. Fitness, if you want to be a truly competent individual, it's very multifaceted, and conditioning is a big part of that, okay? So it was around this time when I started really doing conditioning, and there's really 3 types to simplify things. Number 1 is your long and slow. Hey, this is sustaining low intensity efforts for 30 to 90 minutes. This could be as simple as taking steps, going on a hike, going on a slow jog, going on an incline walk. Okay. This supports fat metabolism and cardiac efficiency, and it's great for enhancing recovery. Okay. So this is your first option. Second is your middle distance. Okay, so this is probably the most painful out of the three. It's repeating intense efforts for 30 to 90 seconds. Okay, so think about like wrestling cardio. Think about like boxing or something like that, where you have to like, you're going hard, you're not going 100%, but you're going high intensity and you're doing that for a long time. This is going to build work capacity and ability for high effort bouts and the ability to just repeat and have that gas tank. Okay, last one is your sprints, okay? And I'm not just talking about running sprints. Like sprint, what I mean by sprints is like you just going all out, okay? So this is repeating max effort for 5 to 15 seconds because, you can only really upkeep max effort for about 5 to 15 seconds. This builds your ability to use energy fast, to just go. It's that go muscle, okay? And keeps you ready and dangerous, okay? So this is the point where you want to start adding conditioning into your routine as well. Now, let's take it another step further. At this point, I started to train under a variety of different modalities and disciplines. Okay, I really widened my base. And I think this is a really important thing to do because it's just going to make you multidimensional. It's going to just teach you things as you learn different things. So here are some different modalities of training to add in your routine in phase 2. Kettlebells, okay? Kettlebells get a lot of flack. Okay, they're not the best for strength or muscle, but they're great for mobility, movement, and low intensity body control. Okay, so these are you will get a lot from just doing a season of kettlebells. Okay, strongman training. Okay, I'm not saying you have to be a strongman, but have those implements in your training. So heavy emphasis on the carries, sandbag training, stones, carrying awkward objects. These are all beneficial things to do in phase 2. Okay, calisthenics and movement. Okay, not just your pull-ups and dips, learning different skills, right? Like, a lot of these different tricks, right? The human flag, this is one example, but you can do a lot of things with just your body weight, and it's really good to experiment there. And lastly, martial arts. I think martial arts should be a staple in everybody's program, right? Doing things like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking. It's just going to widen your movement vocabulary. So now that I've built a decent base of muscle mass, then added diverse skills and qualities, I was now more fit than 99% of the population. I was like that guy that was fit, okay? But here's how we take it a step further. When you talk about the real outliers, the thing that separates them is their freak strength, speed, and incredible feats, okay? You want to be jacked, you want to have a movement capability, but you just want to be purely strong and just, I'm talking numbers wise, right? Like you want to be able to be the top 0.01% in terms of your statistics. Now your goal is to be as strong and powerful as possible and have a nervous system that is really strong as well, to push my limits in how much force I could output and at the speed at which I could output it, okay? This is all about becoming a 0.01% athlete statistically, okay? So this phase of phase 3 is all about pushing your limits. It's all about generating a lot of force. It's about generating a lot of speed. It's about just doing incredible things, okay? So these are the types of training you want to focus on to really just cap it off and be an athletic being, okay? So number 1 is plyometrics, okay? Plyometrics are jumping type exercises. Your focus when you're doing these is move your body weight as fast and powerfully as you can, okay? You want to be good at redirecting force. That means landing and being able to just explode again, okay? Not landing awkwardly, taking time. Like you want to be good at redirecting the force, boom, jumping again, and compounding explosive efforts together. Okay, that's your focus with plyometrics. Next, you want to do high intensity compounds, right? Before, when you're just building muscle, you're focused more on higher reps. Now is the time to go from rep ranges 1 to 5. Your focus here is moving heavy weight in compound movements, generating as much force as you can with the muscular and nervous system, okay? And lastly, dynamic lifting. Okay, so dynamic lifting is basically lifting with a violent intent. Okay, so your focus here is moving heavy weights as fast and as explosively as possible. Okay, so these are best done with variations that allow you to do this. Okay, so Olympic lifting and Olympic lifting type variations, push press, right, power cleans, things like that, or dynamic effort lifts, which is basically just moving a little bit lighter weight than what you can normally do, but moving it fast and violently in your compound movements. Now, if you do all three of these phases, and the beauty of it is they all lead up to each other, right? You build a base, and that helps you get your movement. You build that base of movement, and it now prepares you to just be a complete athlete, strong, athletic, powerful, okay? But the thing is, you don't just run through each phase. You don't just go from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. You do that at the beginning, but once you pass phase 3, you want to implement all of these in your training at the same time. So if you look at my training right now, it consists of all of these things. I still do things to keep me jacked, to keep a healthy base of lean muscle mass on me, a lot of hypertrophy movements. I still do a lot of movements that focus on movement complexity, variety, make sure I'm moving well, make sure I'm versatile. And I still do training that allows me to push heavy weight fast, and be athletic and violent. So I hope this gives you some clarity on what you should pursue based on what level of training you're at. And I hope you can get to a point where you can include all three of these things in a training program, like how I program a lot of my one-on-one clients.